Please ask the host to give permission. You just did.
Okay, let me see, where is it? I'm not seeing it, but I'm already recording, so we're okay.
Okay.
It's not sending me your request, but let me see the chat room. So I love this technology, Jennifer, don't you?
I
No,
you know what? I do.
I mean, what are the
Even
odds that this Mexican chick will get in touch with Ohio? I mean, I can't even understand the snow, dude. I grew up in Mexico, and the only place there's snow in Mexico is in our freezers. So when
love this.
I know, I've seen the scenes of kids like you grow up in this cold place. You grew up in Ohio, didn't you?
I grew up in Pennsylvania. I've been here for the last 2 years.
And and tell us about your background. I know you went to Penn State.
So my background is I grew up in Pennsylvania. I attended a private college, Lycoming College, where I studied psychology and American history. And because I always wanted to help people like me, and real quick background there, I was diagnosed ADHD in middle school. And I was always just aware, and I've always been successful, with anything I've tried, anything I've,
I would like to ask you about that because it's
Sure.
a very interesting subject, and I know we're supposed to talk about Neville today.
Yeah, you're good.
But so I speak to a lot of people who speak Spanish, and this is going to be translated. And
Okay.
people in my culture are super interested in people in your culture, how you grow up. For instance, our schooling is different. I go to college too. I went to law school. You went to Penn State. I know it's like 20 years for you to get a degree. So just people understand, you've been in school most of your life.
So I have been. I mean, if you're considering like going from kindergarten up, I finally finished official schooling, like university schooling. Okay. In 2008. So I was in university for 8 years, from 2000 to 2008.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of studying to do, girl.
And I attended 3 different universities. I attended Lycoming, where I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I studied and a minor in American history. I went to Penn State for American Studies, in which I went to work in a curatorial archival setting in museums.
Museums. So
And then I went for my teaching credentialing and certification for elementary. At the time it was K to 6, and I went for special education also, which was pre-K up until
so you're a special
grade.
education teacher.
I'm credentialed for it, and I helped the kids in my class, but I never had a true special education classroom. I was considered regular ed.
I'm going. May I suggest that you were your own classroom?
I was absolutely my own classroom.
Because they diagnose you with something, and I do want to ask you. Let me turn down Alexa. Alexa, lower volume. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Okay, it looks like Alexa decided to finally listen to me.
Mine never does, so I never have it on because she never listens to me.
I say any good secretary knows to do his own or her own will because we're too busy.
Right.
So yesterday we had this pre-conversation, and I was very interested. I briefly worked for a company called the Tova Company, and they were doing this alternate testing because they were psychiatrists, and they were saying that kids with ADHD are getting the wrong medication, the wrong, that they are getting a lot of wrong or misdiagnosed stuff. And they taught me a lot of it, and I was so impressed with that and how bad something that is well meant can be to a kid, because they labeled you in a certain way, and because we don't conform to a larger group, and I think that's just a social inability to understand diversity, I'd say.
It's really because a lot of people I've been on the phone with, and I've been on the phone with women with ADHD adults because I am credentialed in coaching, ADHD coaching and life coaching for kids down to second grade. And then I can always go younger than that, but I haven't broken off to work with the kids yet, because I truly believe we start getting this over to parents, over to adults, and it radiates. And from the people who I've worked with, the clients I've worked with, it radiates down to their kids because they're able to do that.
Amen.
Because they're consciously aware. I'm not saying that you can't teach this to kids, because you absolutely can. But right now I'm reaching the parents, and that's how it's
as kids, we are powerless around our parents. If our parents don't get educated, the kids are doomed. So from my personal standpoint, I think you're right on. You're right on it. And it's because you know the monster from the inside out.
I do.
You know what it is to be singled out for something that is just the way you exist.
There's no doubt. And for many years, you know what, even teaching as a school teacher, I would often catch myself defining myself as my diagnosis.
Yeah.
Defining myself as my diagnosis. And I was giving life to now with this
awakening.
Yep. At the time I was defining myself as my messy filing cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
I was defining myself as the lady who's always late for school. I have to drive 80 miles an hour because I can't get my schedule together at home. I'm the one who I have to force myself into adrenaline fix in order to get anything done. That's all in what we're creating consciously. And then that's what's out picturing.
I love the way you're putting it, because as you say it, I feel terrified because I was that. Mm-hmm. I was like that. Like I would be, I'm listening to me. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, right.
So it's been a journey, right? It becomes a journey to redefine ourselves. And I think as a coach, you're going to rock it. I want you to be my coach, honestly.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what.
I've heard you become quite pricey, lady. Okay, tell us about your coaching career and why that excites you in relationship to Neville Goddard.
Okay, so my coaching, I've really broken off into the last few months of really, number one, committing my life to living the life of Neville's philosophy. He was born 1905, died in 72. And really his title doesn't matter. He goes by a lot of different titles, whether it's philosopher, mystic, biblical genius, really, because what he's done is he's really taken the Bible and Amen. Broken, yep, and has breaking and has defined it as what it truly was meant to be, which is not real people in the Bible, not based on historical events, but rather the psychological states all humans go through consciously.
Jennifer, let me stop a moment to remind you that you're stepping into very deep doggy poo here.
I always have, honey, and I'm ready.
You know that 600 years ago, people were burned for saying these things, right? Mm-hmm. Burned to the stake. And today, we're going to tell you something, people who are listening. If you have ears, you listen. We have arrived. This is 2 members of Coach Talk Cafe. And we're going to entertain you. And what else says Gabby? You say it. You.
Entertain you and I don't know, impact you? Inform you. Yes.
So, dear Jenny, I've been following you since you began,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned to love your authenticity.
Nice.
And when you have a question, you don't let anything get in between you and your answer. You want it. And I really saw that in one of the many meetings we had. You were, I mean, sometimes we just want to look good in front of people, and you are so way over that.
Mm.
You want answers, and you want them now, because I really want to understand this shit. And it's very interesting in the I'm sorry for my French.
No, you're fine.
I do speak more than one language. Oh, I'm sorry. Beep. You know,
No, you
I
are
love this
good.
stuff because there's no censors or shit like that, and people can get it raw the way really life
Right.
is.
I agree.
So here's the thing. Neville Goddard
Yes.
says something really outrageous. And I want you to explain to us why he is outrageous, and why this woman, you, who have spent 25 years in schools and is no dummy and knows a terrible problem from the inside out, is going to help us realize who really Neville is, and why doing this work works for someone like you.
Good question. It all comes back to self. And knowing Neville, I truly believe this. If you have heard of Neville and you want to, and you're starting to play with Neville, you're either all in or you're all out. I don't believe that there's a middle ground with Neville. I truly don't. You know, I don't believe that. For example, I was raised Methodist. Honestly, I can't sit here and tell you much about it, other than I had a lot of questions growing up. I didn't get any answers. And by the time I was 18 and I wasn't living in mom and dad's house anymore, I was done, because nobody could answer my questions. They'd say, Jennifer, you just have to believe. I do believe. I do. But there's something off. Like, for example, Virgin Mary, there's no, in the whole how things work, there's no reason she's pregnant as a real human being. Like, no, get real. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And I remember I would say that all the time to people. So listen, this is just such a huge concept. But what I'm getting at is this: when he breaks it down into psychological states of our consciousness and our being, what we've been taught, and every human being has some kind of belief spiritually, something. But a lot of times we're separate from God. You know, we make ourselves separate. Like, I remember growing, just look, Jennifer, look down and look up. Who am I looking to?
Let me just, so you do adhere, or adhere, please correct my half-ass English.
You're good. Go ahead.
So you do believe that there is a unicity between you and God, or in other words, that you could very well be God in your own universe.
Yes.
Okay.
I was always aware of something, and I'm like, and my mom would always say, look up. I'm like, Mom, not up there. And I'm not even sure that picture of Jesus, if that's even accurate. I said, that's not right. You know, I said, Mom, I said, truly, it comes. I remember saying one time, Mom, it's in us. There's something in us. You know, there's something in us. So with all of this,
I mean, that could go all over the board.
Oh my God. I mean, this
in us. Like,
this is it's so big.
Let's go back. When you said something, what is it that you felt? I mean, was it a physical sensation? Was it a voice inside of you? What was making you realize?
I was hungry.
For?
I remember I was hungry to experiencing something. I was hungry. Okay. I was hungry for something. I was hungry for an understanding. You know, even as an adult, they asked me to, because I identify with lifelong teacher, lifelong learner. And they asked me to be a Sunday school teacher and after school, things to do in church. And I did it for a little while until it was so uncomfortable. And I'm like, I can't teach it this way because this is not what I believe. Well, Jen, what do you believe? I don't know. And at that point in time, I didn't know. But
but it's not the shit you're trying to feed me.
But I said, this is so dark. I can't even believe I'm sharing a murder story with 6-year-olds. They're scared shitless. This is stupid. Like, I don't understand this. So let's fast forward. There's a point in time I put all my Bibles away. I put everything away. And the only reason I would go
get right here.
And the only reason I would go to church is that if I was home, now get a load of this, and if I wasn't hungover from the night prior, then I would go to church to appease my mom and dad. That was the only reason. But that's not why I wanted to go to church. That's not why I wanted to go. So then a couple of years ago, I got into this coaching. I was a client of an ADHD coach who worked on external habits. So it was set more timers, 15 minutes a day, you're cleaning up this, and this, checking it off. You see what I mean? I was working on everything externally. Okay, that lasted so long. That is not I'm not interested in temporary coaching as a client or as a coach. She really influenced me because I saw really big shifts in me. But if I would have stayed with her, I would have quickly, as they say, fell off the wagon because I felt I was going about it backwards, but I didn't have anything to back that up. Put it this way, ADHD people, and I'm just saying that because at that point in time I was ADHD. I labeled myself, and that's why I believed in ADHD.
You were inside the whale, so to speak.
Right. Okay.
Like a story of
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, there's something. And Athena, just real quick, there's nobody else trying to enter, is there?
There's a person whose name is Joe Sterling.
Okay, Joe's here. Okay, because I just got off the phone right before this, and I sent the link out to people. So I was just confirming that nobody else was trying to get in. So, I knew I knew that kind of coaching, that something was off with that, because here's the thing. People would say, oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I get bored. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Wrong. That if you need to be on, because a big complaint within the ADHD world is, I can't manage time. You can manage time. You know how to manage time. If you need to be at a doctor's appointment at 10 from where you live, you need to leave earlier. And if you leave at 10, if your appointment's at 10, you're going to be late. You're not dumb. You know that if you have X, Y, and Z to get done, okay, make a note of it. Write it down.
So what gets on the way? What is
so
it that gets on the way?
Here's what gets in the way. What I have learned. So that kind of coaching, the external coaching, is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I wanted more. I hired a business coach, Vanessa Simpkins. She introduced me to Neville. She introduced me to his technique, not the Bible aspect of it, but his technique of a desire. Feel this desire. And she would use the word vision it. I know now, in studying further with Mr. 2020 as my mentor, it's feeling it real, and feeling it real is different than visualizing.
Yeah.
But pardon me, she taught me and she put me in touch with Neville. And I'm like, who is this man? And the book she introduced me to is right here. She introduced me to this book.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
And I bought it, and I'm like, says the Bible, I'm done. And I put it away. I'm like, I tried the Bible how many times? This man is not going to understand. I'm not going to understand anything. And then one day, what I was doing is what a lot of other people teach with, like, affirmations and that kind of thing. And they were really putting a lot of emphasis on words. And I was doing affirmations. I was writing them out. I was saying them, making sure they felt good, so on and so forth. But they were not
going down. I get you.
But here's the thing. They were only, again, temporary. So I went from coaching external habits. Okay, it helped for a little bit, but that but I knew there was more.
Yeah.
To starting to get internally, with affirmations making me feel good temporarily. But then there was a point like, fuck these, oh, excuse my language, screw these affirmations because,
beep.
Right, screw these affirmations because here I'm doing a lot of writing. There has to be something else behind these affirmations. Now, because I don't like hoops. I'm not interested in hoops. Give me the most direct route to success.
Be a teamster and let's have some fun down the road.
And I grabbed this book. I started diving into this book and I'm like, imagination. My awareness of being as God. I am God. Huh.
Yeah.
I'm not separate from God. This is resonating. This is resonating with me. Psychological state. This is it.
Yeah.
This is what I've been aware of. And up until a few years ago, it really wasn't in my experience. And then when I was so hungry for this, then I found Mr. 2020, who has also committed to a life, and he went through similar experiences with vision boards, with affirmations, and all this, you know, which led him to Neville. And he also lives this life.
Did you say vision boards or did you say Ouija boards?
No. Athena.
Shut up, woman. We don't talk that stuff in.
Oh my God, that's funny. So, but
people here, we're good people.
We are. We absolutely are. And
we mean well, don't we? Don't we mean love to the?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And it's giving. You know, the last few weeks I've been saying in my group and on my personal pages, giving life to the lovely, not the ugly. You know, because, but I find Neville and I'm like, we're conscious creators. Therefore, we're creating every instant in our life by being aware, truly being aware of our being, awareness of being. What's my awareness of being?
You know, one of the most, talking about Neville, you say Neville, right?
Neville.
Mm-hmm. Neville. Okay, Neville.
Neville.
This is the English pronunciation class. So one of the things that I read, that I think I heard, that there's this guy who makes a lot of recordings of his books online. His name is Josiah Brandt, and
yes,
I really admire his voice is kind of perfect. It's almost like I'm listening to Neville. And one of the lessons, it really blew me away because he says that we were created twice. And one is in the book of Genesis, when they tell the story on how the sound, which is the word, you know, became our self-awareness. Now I am self-aware, so that's the birth of all of us. Mm-hmm. But then in its journey, this original being becomes all of us. And that's the moment of the crucifixion, when Jesus says, "Why have you forsaken me?" Because in that moment, he's no longer a duality with God, but he becomes one with humanity only. So it is within us, and we are it. Mm-hmm. Now what? What's next now? I mean, there's no excuses. There's no victimhood.
No, there's you know, one of my absolute favorite lectures, and he has, there's not one bad lecture of Neville's, but my absolute favorite one is called Changing the Feeling of I.
I love that. Is that going to be your next book?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely going to, I definitely have workings on this. You must first discover who you are right now with an uncritical observation of self. Discover who you are now. Not be ashamed of it. We're not adding good on it. We're not adding bad on it. Just take a look really at the conversations you're having with people. just take a look at just really how you're reacting.
Yeah.
And it's not good. It's not bad. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just is.
And in the reaction is contained the next moment, because then, you know what I mean? I mean, it's in all over Neville, and I'm going to ask you this as a question. So what do you feel? What is your thinking? What is your thinking in terms of the emotions as the creators of our reality?
From what I've known, from what I studied, emotions is the auditory meaning, imaginal meanings that we add onto sensations. That's what I know about emotions. So emotions are continued stories that we add on.
Okay. Is it the story, or is it a byproduct of the story? Is an emotion a byproduct of the story, or is it the story itself? Maybe I'm not catching it.
No. Let me think a second. See, this is what I love about interviews. This is what I love about, like the other day, I hosted a discussion on a lecture where I invite people from my group to just, let's rip a lecture apart. Let's rip a lecture apart, you know, and the other day I went over At Your Command. And here's the thing. If we're not actively engaging with other people and having these discussions with other people, like I only have the words that I use over and over and over, just like you have the words that you use over and over and over. Joe has his perception of the words that he uses over and over and over. But it's not until we're in a discussion where something's said a little bit differently, you know, a question's asked with a little bit of a shift on it, you know, which is, totally. That's expansion to me. That leads to expansion, because we are infinitely these curious beings with the ability to infinitely create any state we want, that we desire, any of them.
You're right on. I mean, I totally
so
I totally share that awareness with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
So going back to the emotion question.
Is emotion a byproduct, or is it the story?
Emotion, I would say, is the byproduct.
It makes sense to me too. Yeah.
It's the byproduct. You know, there again, I've learned a lot of what I'm sitting with. Number one, from Neville's teachings, but how my mentor, 2020, breaks it down. He has influenced my life greatly through his teachings as well, of taking Neville's teachings and how he presents it. I've taken a lot from him, you know, and I just, there's a course that I've learned so much from, and I mean so much. Not just I went through the course one time, I've gone through it multiple times. And our senses that we rely on so greatly is really where we base our life off of, that, when in fact our senses, a lot of times what we're picking up from our senses trigger us. And in that trigger, we add these stories onto anything and everything we see, feel, taste, smell. I missed one. Hear. 5 senses. Okay.
Hearing, seeing, touching, and how can I forget them?
I know. All right. Okay. So like everything, like his very first week of his course is really paying attention to, take a few minutes and take a look at what you see around you, and watch how fast your imagination adds meaning onto that object. You know, how quickly. 20 has his own signature story about the two men, or about the men and the girls giggled. I actually came up with my own, and my own is this. this is this is going to be my story with it, because I need to come up with my own ways of explaining this stuff, right? So say if we're in a bar, right? Say if we're in a bar, and I take this setting because we can relate to the social setting and the relationship setting. And say if you know, we're at a bar and I see a guy, and I obviously notice that he sees me, and I'm interested. Okay. And I go up to him, and of
I'm
course,
excited already.
right. You know, there's
it's not even happening.
you know, and there's small talk a little bit. But if I would say to this gentleman, if I would say to this gentleman, hey, I would like to experience more of you.
Oh, well, that's a fine gentleman.
Okay. But if but if I say those words, that combination of words to this gentleman, because I tested this out on somebody who I'm working very closely with, from over in Kenya. I'm like, listen, I'm not being provocative at you. You know, I said, let's role play a bit here. And, but I said, if I would say this to you, and he's like, I would become speechless. I would have nothing to say. And I said, really? I said, I don't believe you. I said, you're a 34-year-old man. I don't believe you. He said, okay, Jennifer. Okay, Jen. Okay, Jen. And I said, so tell me. He's like, well, of course I would think you want me. Exactly. How do you know it's what you imagined about the words that I put together, and saying you automatically imagined sex? You already imagined. What if I'm truly out looking for a genuine friend to have a nice supper with? Genuinely, truly, I want to enjoy you with a beer. I want to enjoy you at a movie. I want to enjoy just being in the presence of you. You know, and it's the words, the auditory words that I said to him, and he added the meaning onto probably the word experience more of you, to taking it all the way to the end, when in fact he has no idea. I genuinely, maybe I just want to spend the next couple hours with you because you're sending off a really good energy. So it's
what hours seems something I would think, but I mean, I hear you. There is a science and an art in using words, you know, in whichever language you decide.
yes,
to be very, very mindful of the intent of each and every word. And I believe this is why very wise people speak very little.
because I mean, again, but their consciousness is heightened, because it's not about the words. It's not about the words at all. I don't care in what language it is. It's truly about what are you imagining about the words. It's the imaginal act. It's the story we're creating. You know, 20's story that he shares is the guy and the girls giggled.
Now,
you know,
let me be a little imprudent here and say,
please.
Okay, in this scenario of your mind, your imagination, the values that you assign to words, and how to cope with that in your interactions with others, because you still want to be able to communicate with other people, I mean, we all want to give and take love. So let's bring the heart chakra. How is the heart function, or the heart chakra, or the heart or love energy connected to this stuff about Neville, who seems so cerebral the whole time?
I know very little about the chakras. Okay, so I can't really speak intelligently about chakras because I don't know much about them. But what I do know,
love. How does this relate with love?
So
love, 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 boom, 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 love, love, love. You
know what song I'm into right now? I'm into the song "Hooked on a Feeling." Nice.
I learned that one before the end of the year, by the way.
Nice. So, if the question is the vulnerability behind words, I don't know if that's the question, but so I'm more clear, so I can give a more accurate answer
so I
here.
guess a better question is, what is love for Jennifer Miller?
What is love for Jennifer Miller? Love for Jennifer Miller is knowing who I am and allowing myself, giving life to myself first, and the desires that I've been given at birth, and giving life to them in a lovely way that makes me feel fulfilled.
Okay. And in your interactions with family, with friends, with
so
how are you? Do we have to be an instrument for another person, or we're just living alone in this eyes of imaginative lives? I mean, I am a figment of your imagination in a way.
So you always are first, because what I love about Neville teachings is this. I actually wrote this down so I wouldn't get this. What I love about it is he truly, his teachings teach you to trust you.
Can you repeat that part? I got disconnected.
His teachings teach you to trust yourself.
Yeah, true.
Okay. And your faith in God is measured by your confidence in you. I love that. So I truly go with this. Anybody who comes in with the experience of me, and I say this all the time, whether it's a smile as I'm running or a glance at somebody when I'm at the airport or a client or in this, I invite them into an experience with me at whatever level. The level doesn't matter because we're infinite, so the level doesn't matter. But when they leave my experience, that we're no longer physically, our senses can pick up on each other, okay? That they're empowered. That I've invited them to dive into who they are, that they're more empowered than before they met me. You know, a really good story is there's a trail up here a few years ago that I was walking on, and I smiled at somebody, a smile. And I ran into them at Walmart, and they came up to me and they said, thank you. And I'm like, hi. I said, I don't know you. I'm Jen. How are you? And they said, we just want to say thank you. You smiled so lovely at us up on the trail a few weeks ago. We're always talking about that. Thank you, because you give off a beautiful energy.
You know what? Let me say this, which may be quite risky, but you just spoke like Jesus, because that's the kind of thing that he would have said according to the Gospels. You know, I am here so you have better lives, and whoever comes in contact with me will be healed. And you pretty much were saying something like that. And because you are God, you are entitled to say it. And I am God. To the extent I accept and embrace that, I have authority. So evidently, you are more in authority than I am, because I wouldn't say those words, but you owned the words. Therefore, you are teaching.
You know, and
let's be quiet for a moment, just for a moment. Something just happened that was very big. I saw something in you that I never seen anybody, pretty much. May your soul always be blessed, and mine that I met you today, Jennifer Miller. You own the words, so good girl. Coach Jennifer.
I love this. Athena.
You know, I think our Lord is the best coach ever. And I was thinking in his terms this morning. I mean, I can visualize, and I know you said this is not a person, and it's not a historical person. And there are books about this subject. I don't know if you've heard the book In Search of the Historical Jesus. So some people have gone on another route and said, okay, there was a man, and there was a physical existence, because the world wasn't the same after that. I mean, the evidence was so obvious. And that's kind of the miracle we are waiting. But when Jesus lived, no one would recognize him. They would say, this guy is a freaking joke. But he indeed did some things that were recorded, like coming back after dying. Because in his teaching, he says, this will free you from the cycle of life and death. You will no longer die. So when you have that level of awareness, I don't know if you've ever read of the Seth books. You are going to.
I have not. I have not.
Read the Seth books, dude. The Christ in me speaks to Christ in you. Find them, because you're going to help a lot of people debunk this whole, the religious paradigm gets us out of our, and I've been a big victim of that.
I mean, it's
victim, but because I don't want to be a victim. No,
it's,
but I went through that, and it's difficult to shake it off.
you know what? In this article, not article, this lecture that we discussed in the month of November inside, it's my group, Imagination Unleashed. It's my private Facebook group. It's all Neville talk. Just building it. It's fairly new, a couple months old. But at your command, he states this: when the Bible is read in this light, you will find it to be the greatest scientific book ever written. Instead of looking upon the Bible as the historical record of an ancient civilization or the biography of the unusual life of Jesus, see it as a great psychological drama taking place in the consciousness of man.
Okay, I love this. Can I push the question a little further?
Push, yeah.
Okay, so would the same apply to any history book? Like when we listen to stories of the Second World War?
I love this. I do. I'm not kidding, Athena. I love, because listen, these questions don't end here for me. These questions don't, they literally begin here and they're going to continue and expand outward. So I love when and I say this all the time also, that when I'm on a call with 20 and I'm sitting there with, how do I even think about that? I will actually do Feel It Real sessions just on that. And when I do this Feel It Real sessions, it's that I'm going to get gold. I'm going to get gold from this question. And I might not even know what it is, but here's what I've created. I've created the feeling of, oh my God, I just got something rock solid from that. And wow, what a great experience. Like, I just know that feeling, so to answer this. So the first thing I thought of when you asked me that question is, again, something I've learned through my studies that, again, I'm just going to talk this out because this is the first thing that came to me, that there is no fiction.
Or there is no reality.
Well, consciousness is the only reality. Right? Consciousness is the only reality. And really,
show to
right?
be continued forever.
I'm telling you, this could go on and on and on, right? Which is why I love this stuff. And people will define reality a lot of the times, at least from the people that I work with, as right now. Like they'd say, Jen, I'm on a Zoom call with you. This is not reality. This is an echo of a state we've previously created. And this is how it's coming to fruition with whatever we've created. Okay. So, reality is your awareness of being, that's reality.
Speaking to you is like being in an acid trip, dude. I mean, like, honestly,
what a great trip to be on.
all paradigms are going to fall. And that's exactly what happens when you are in an acid trip, and why so many people are terrified, because anything that you can refer to disappears.
Is what? Say that last part again.
Anything that you can refer to will disappear, because when you undo the structures of thought, the thing will fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
You know that
You know,
well.
so I think you said, so this is making me think of something way back earlier in our conversation, right? With, we tend to blame others for our misfortunes. There's not one single person, not one single circumstance, event. I don't even use the word circumstance anymore. I just don't, that really, really, it's what I imagine.
Some words.
It's really what I imagine about that word is what gets me. But we create every instance of our life, every single one, everyone, even, and here is where I'm going to be 100% honest. Here's where I need to dive deeper at, even before we are here in this form. You know, somebody asked me questions on that, and I have it noted along with the other list of areas that I want to dive into that area.
That's what you're going to find in the set book. Jane Roberts was a writer, and I actually feel super connected with her. As you know, who says that? Have you heard of Esther Hicks at all?
I heard of Esther Hicks.
Oh my God, you have to listen to that woman. She's been speaking for like 30 years about the same thing. I mean, there is no other thing but you. It's only you.
But so here's what gets me with Esther. Here's what gets me, because I started there also. That's been part of my journey as well. But I'm really curious why she has to break off into, is Abraham the voice that comes out, right? Is Abraham the voice that comes out in her?
It's like
when she gets into,
it is like Athena is the voice that comes through me. I mean,
yeah, but like when Esther's doing her thing, she does something that she gets into this, I don't know, trance or whatever.
No, she doesn't do that anymore.
But she used to.
She did it at first.
She used to.
Now she's not doing that anymore.
Well, thank goodness, because I'll tell you what, that part there, I'm like, oh my word, this freaks me out. I have a book on it. Like, that really freaks me out because it's her. It's her. Like, that was just an added hoop of knowing who she is. So really, this is why I said at the beginning, it's either all or nothing with Neville. It's not, I'm going to practice Neville, I'm going to believe Neville, but I'm going to pray to God. You know, because a lot of times, and I really believe that this is why more people don't dive into Neville, because of the bondage they have growing up to somebody who is separate from them. That's just the belief.
Separate. That's been the biggest issue the whole time.
Hmm?
That is, first of all, it seems logical, right? Because we just feel this body, and this body feels finite. It's made that way, so we can have a human experience. So what happens when you gain 100% awareness of you are God? You no longer can be here, or can we be here after we are finally knowing that we're the all? Frankly, right now, I'm just having a good time here.
You know what? There again, and I know I'm bringing 20 up a lot, but right now at this stage, I'm going to, because this is where a lot of my influences come during my experience as Jen Miller being here, right? But he says, you know, when we're fulfilling our desires that we've been giving, right? And in loving ways that we can enjoy them, right? We're giving God the ride of his lifetime.
Yeah, but when you say it like that, it doesn't sound like you're God. It sounds like you're giving God something. So see, it's a mystery, and I think we're better.
Oh, it is. Alone. But you know, God, like in this lecture, also at your command, consciousness being God is as Father. All right. You know, it says, now hold on. I and my Father are one. Okay. But this statement, I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I, seems very confusing.
Exactly. And you know,
but
in the letters of the Apostle Paul to the Corinthians, it is, don't you realize that Christ dwells within? It's always been in here. It's no secret. So what up, dude? What are we doing here with all this limitation of being able to
So, but if interpreted in the light of what we have just said concerning the identity of God, you will find it very revealing. Consciousness, being God, is as Father. The thing that you are conscious of being is the Son bearing witness of his Father.
Amen. Hallelujah.
So it's like the conceiver and its conception. The conceiver is ever greater than his conceptions, yet ever remains one with his conception.
Wow. That's enlightening. Absolutely.
You know, for instance, before you are conscious of, and it's just a
So
couple.
there is a separation in identification. I mean, it's a sense of self that we all will continue to have in relationship to another, so that we can coexist and have the joy of experiencing one another.
Mm-hmm. So before you're conscious of being man, you are first conscious of being. Fascinating.
Run it by me again.
So, for instance, before you're conscious of being man, you are first conscious of being.
Okay, I am.
Then you become conscious of being man.
I am man.
Yet you remain as conceiver, greater than your conception, man.
Okay, so I am that. I am, says this tradition, which is the Shiva Sutras. You know, I am that, I am. So you're the two at the same time that you are one. And this is the unresolvable equation that quantum physics talks about. I mean, what was first? How can anything begin if there is an endless relationship between the creator and the createe? It's a gift at the end of it all. It's a gift to.
Oh, there's no doubt. There is no doubt. I mean, this is, and you know, Neville says a lot of us get stuck on the hows. You know, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? How are we going to go about this? You know, we have the whole list. You know, we have the whole list of to-do items, or how am I going to go about it, so on and so forth. You know, once we are awareness of our being, okay, we have this desire, and you start feeling this. So, and you're assuming it to be the creation of this is done because it's you. You've already created it, and your consciousness is created. So you're assuming. You know, it came up the other day, the discussion of law of attraction, law of assumption, and then someone's just like, the law. You know, and from my readings, Neville really focuses on the law. And he speaks of assuming the state of the wish fulfilled, assuming the state. And it's being able to come out of these feel it real sessions. People call them meditation. It's not meditation. I'm going to go with what 20 says when he labeled it feel it real, because that's what we're doing. We want to feel it real.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And
you know,
and it takes energy, and it takes doing.
Okay.
Because we're not used to it.
Okay. And it's interesting. We're used to the feeling of separation and anxiety and fear. That's what we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But think of it. It hasn't really been hard for us to create those feels. So I'm really curious what it's going to take for people to realize it's not hard to create those feels. So let's shift a bit in our consciousness and create for the love, for the fulfillment, for the joy, for the bliss, you know, versus the other way. And I hear people say all the time, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't.
And again, hard is a state. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Hard is a state that we create. You know, ease is the state that we create. Ease is a state that we create. Oh my gosh, that really made my heart bubble just listening to you strum there and pluck. I love it. But it's truly in getting this desire, imagining this desire, feeling it, because you cannot describe a feel. You can feel it. You can't describe a feel. You cannot articulate a feel.
You're right about that. So
Never
are
can.
you going to coach me?
I absolutely can coach you. I absolutely can. So listen, do you have any other questions for today?
I say thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy.
Yeah, thank you.
Your business is booming.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to go back and claim my one-on-one.
Yes, please do. Well, listen, if those of who get a hold of this is how you work with me. If you're interested in working with me. Okay. So my name is Jennifer Miller, the Imagination Coach. I have a personal profile in Facebook under Jennifer Miller. I also have a private Facebook community called Imagination Unleashed. And how I'm inviting people to work with me is I absolutely coach one-on-one. Right now, what I've been doing is having 21 sessions in 30 days. So 21 one-on-one sessions in 30 days, where we're really taking a look at what's going on. like we really get radically honest with what are you imagining? Where is your awareness? Because there's going to be a direct reflection as to what's out picturing and what you're creating consciously, and just waking up that awareness and becoming radically honest with it. And my lessons might be similar, but I invite people because, everyone's on their own journey. They're experiencing life as they experience life, So I like one-on-one because it's really tailored to them and they get my undivided attention. I can tell you within a couple sentences what state you're coming from. Just in a couple sentences, because think of it. When we're speaking, you've already nailed a state in order for you to be able to put those words together to get out. You've already created it. So because people are like, how did you know that so accurately? I listen, I feel, and I'm pretty dead on with that. And then I invite them to just shift their awareness around a bit. So they're creating, so they can start pruning, as Neville says, pruning the ugly, pruning what doesn't serve, and really giving life to what serves, what serves them. They get to claim who they are. Oh my God, claiming, right there's another hour. There's so much here. So with that, my prices are, right now, I'm only doing a 25% discount because for the last few weeks, I went from 75 to 50 to now only 25%.
Do you have a website or a place where they can check your offers?
Yes. So
your Facebook page or
the best place to go is inside my group. Is inside of my Imagination Unleashed.
Imagination Unleashed, that's the group, okay.
Yep. Actually, would it be helpful if I put in the comments here? Do people actually see the comments in these or no?
You know what? We're going to send me a memo with the comments and all
that
stuff, because I'm going to put it in YouTube, okay?
Perfect.
I'm going to put it in my groups and in whatever place.
Okay.
People need to understand that there's a way out and into the
life. Yes. And anyone can get me for a one-on-one. I don't recommend one-on-one unless you've been working in this area for a while, unless you just want to tweak some things up. But one-on-ones are absolutely available. They're going for $250 an hour. But again, the clarity that's at the end of that is priceless.
And I'm good because you can change the life of a person. Really.
Oh my gosh, listen, there's some people I've been on the phone with, in just one lesson of me just saying, hey, here's a taste of me. Are you interested in me being your coach? And they're like, well, share a lesson with me. I share one lesson. They've turned around and manifested the wealth. Ridiculous. Like in 2 hours, this gentleman's like, it was so easy to implement what you shared with me. I implemented it he said like that. I went on a walk. I came back. I got my ideal client. They paid $1,200.
I want to be one of your witnesses. So let's schedule this for next week and let's document it.
Fantastic. I love it.
I want to be your guinea pig. Use me as your guinea pig.
Okay. All right. So, and then
oh my God, that's my wonderful roommate.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. And then the other thing I have going is it's a 7-day intensive. It's a 7-day intensive. I'm calling it the 7-day Imaginal Awareness. And it's $97. So that's also available. I'm looking for 10 people, but 10 people will come around, and we're going to play around with our Imaginal Awareness in those 7 days. So I love you. Thank you for this opportunity to just get on here and continue to engage and always expand. Always expanding.
We're going to keep talking. This is not the last time. Okay.
Oh, good. Yes. Well, listen, I am available. You message me and we'll definitely get the next one scheduled. I love you also.
Thank you so much for this.
Much love. Be blessed.